Okay, here's a bit of my story. When I was 21 years old, I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. It came on very sudden. It was literally just a matter of days, and I just went completely downhill. And I lost so much blood that I almost needed a transfusion because I was just so weak and my organs were going to shut down. Little did I know that that was going to be the start of a living hell. For that year after I first got diagnosed, I had a doctor who was close to retirement, and I don't know if he just didn't care so much, but he saw me losing blood consistently as not a big deal. And I didn't know any better. I've never been ill before, even though it's like, yeah, you can't just be losing blood every day for like an entire year on top of like your period as well. So I got extremely weak and malnourished. I got put on all different types of medication, and one of the absolute worst ones that I still hate to this absolute day, prednisone. Prednisone is a corticosteroid steroid, and it worked great, but it wreaked havoc on my body. And I would start to build immunity to it. So I would have to go from 20 milligrams to 30 milligrams to 40 milligrams to 50 milligrams to 60 milligrams. And you cannot be taking 60 milligrams of prednisone consistently for a long period of time. So I ended up with, of course, I had my GI. I had a rheumatologist because my joints were in so much pain from everything. And I also had a pain management doctor because I was in excruciating pain for a significant amount of time. I have had numerous procedures, surgeries. I can't even remember everything. I've gone through chemo. I lost my hair. I was extremely malnourished and I couldn't even drink water. I needed to be hydrated through an IV. I got so weak that I couldn't walk and I couldn't bathe myself. I couldn't do anything, and my mother had to take care of me. So fast forward a couple of years, at the age of 24, I was so over it. I was going on my 4th or 5th year of dealing with it, and I was done. So there's a bunch of stuff that happened in between, but it's kind of boring. Anyway, I got to be 25, and just a few days after my 25th birthday, I decided to go through with the total colectomy. So total colectomy is they removed my entire large intestine, and especially your colon and bits of your rectum as well. And I had an ostomy bag for about 8 or 9 months. And yeah, shitting out of bags sucked, but I was not in pain anymore, and that was such a relief. So I really didn't care about having my intestines on the outside of my body and having to wear a bag everywhere because I was no longer in pain. And that's all I really cared about, because I was literally at the point where I was ready to myself and be done with it. So this was a course of 3 surgeries that I did. And I recovered, and they got rid of most of the disease in my intestines, and they made my small intestine connect to basically replace my large intestine. And it was still a rough road to recovery, especially that second surgery. It took me a month to be able to walk up the stairs. But I did it, and I felt a hell of a lot better. And I was like, okay, I'm willing to live again. It still took several years before I decided to, well, I didn't decide. I lost the current insurance that I had, and was forced to use a different insurance, but that was actually a blessing in disguise because I got a doctor who actually valued me as a patient and found the right prescriptions that ended up working for me. So finally, after being ill for probably about 8 years, I was on track to feeling pretty much like a normal person again for the most part. So throughout this whole process, I would have to go on disability for work. And then when I was good enough, I would go back to work. And then that would only last for a few months. And I just do that for back and forth, where eventually I was on disability for about 2 years. But like I said, I had gotten a lot better. So I returned to my job. But as soon as that started happening, I was promoted to be supervisor in my company at my corporate job, because my manager knew that I pushed myself to come to work as much as I could, even when I really probably should have been in the hospital. But then another company bought our company and they were doing layoffs, and I did not like my VP and she didn't like me. So I had the opportunity to be laid off and I was over the job. So I said, yeah, go ahead, let me go. And that was right before COVID happened. And then COVID happened. And I said, okay, that's fine. I needed a break. I think everybody around me just assumed, oh, you're better now, so you can get back to your normal life, like no problem. And to be honest, I think I expected the same thing for me. Everybody around me, and myself included, had underestimated what being so sick for almost an entire decade will really do to a person. So I took the time with COVID to just kind of try to get back to myself and figure things out. I had gone through so many other things as well. Like I had lost a few friends that really meant a lot to me. And I was just kind of existing. Then I started to be like, okay, let me look for another job again. And so there I went, thinking nothing of it. Like, okay, yeah, I'm going to start applying. And I had no idea what the job market was turned into. And now that my health was no longer putting me through hell, but my finances were starting to. And I just did not have the energy to survive a different type of stressful environment. I needed time to recover and get myself out of survival mode and redo, my whole neuroplasticity in my nervous system. And if you're not somebody that's into any type of healing or understanding any of that, like that's just gonna mean nothing to you and you won't understand. But this video is getting too long and it really doesn't have anything to do with digital marketing. I just kind of wanted to give you some information on what life was like before I even got to the point of doing digital marketing. So maybe I'll end it here and talk more about from point B.